Hello everyone. Yes, that was our material getting delivered. Well, some of it. It's not all of it. We got enough to build the walls, and I'm gonna have to order the rafters because they're gonna end up being over 19 foot long, and I can't really use conventional lumber for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and order some I-joists probably, and they won't be here till I think the middle of October. So we want to go ahead and get the walls built, then I can kind of start doing some of the electric, putting some outlets in and stuff. But we got a little bit of material delivered today, as you've seen, and let's go inside and we'll talk about what we're gonna do today. Okay, we're inside, and we're gonna build the room right here where we put our windows in. Nice big 20 by 30 room, 10-foot ceilings. So when we put the windows in the other day, I showed you that the bottom of the windows here, there's a lot of movement because there's nothing holding the siding, you know. And I said if we weren't going to build a room in here, we would definitely have to put some kind of supports on these windows. But since we're building the room, the wall will be the support. We'll tie it all together once we get the wall built, and should be good to go. So I think today what we're going to work on is building these two walls where the windows are, and that'll probably be video one if I can get both of them built in one video. Okay, the first thing we want to do is we want to get a plumb line or mark from this here because it sticks out the furthest, so we can pop a line to do our bottom plate. So I got a nice straight 8-foot stud here, and I'm going to put it up against here, and I'm going to put my 6-foot level on there and get a mark down on the floor. So hopefully you guys can see this. Now, I marked this side of the stud instead of this side of the stud, and the reason I did that is because I want to pop the line on the outside of the wall so I can see the line when I set the wall. If it was up against on the other side, I'd have to really bend over, you know, try to see the line on the other side. So okay, so I got a mark on this side on the floor and a mark on the other side on the floor. So I'll go ahead and use my chalk line and pop a line on the floor, and that's where the bottom plate will go. We can get the wall built and stand it up. Okay everybody, I got the line popped. I don't know if you can see it. It looks like it's showing up on the camera. I don't know. Hopefully you can see it. The shadows in here, because it's a nice rainy day outside when you're getting material delivered. Great. It's been sunny and hot, and then I go to order material and it rains. So anyway, I had to pop two lines on this side because I popped this first line, and I realized that this beam has a little lip of the steel and it was going to hold the plate out a little bit. So I just moved the line over a little bit and squared it up, because if you see down there, it was a little out of square. So I made sure it was pretty square. So I got these two lines popped. I'm going to go ahead and build this wall over here first. It's going to work better with the way the plates go together in the corner and the studs and stuff. So I'm going to build this one first. I'm going to go ahead and get the bottom plate cut and laid in here, and then I'm gonna figure out where the windows are so I can put my jacks and king studs in. So we'll get it all laid out and we'll go from there. All right everyone, I took a second and carried in some lineals, some pressure treated for the bottom there, and some pine for the top plate, and I was just looking, and before we can actually lay out the plates and build the wall and all that, we need to put blocking in between these two horizontal supports on the building. Our walls are 10 foot. Well, I'm not going to cut the studs, just square the ends, so they're going to be at 10 foot. And then there'll be a bottom plate and 2 top plates, so that'll be 10 foot 4 to the bearing point of the top of the wall, which is actually in between these 2 supports. So I'm going to go ahead and put some vertical 2x4s in between these supports. I'm probably only going to do them like every 4 foot and make sure there's ones on the ends. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in, and then we can lay out the wall and build it. Okay, got those blocks in every 4 foot. I'm gonna have to put them over here for this wall too, and over here for the rest of this wall, because it's going further. It's going past that beam there, that column. So over here we'll put blocking in, but we'll do that after we build this wall. I don't like putting blocking in. I'd rather build the wall. So I'm gonna go ahead and build the wall. We can put the blocking in when we get ready to build that wall. So we need to get some plates cut for the bottom and lay out where these windows are gonna go. Now the rafters will be running this way. So these windows on this wall that we're gonna build right now are gonna have to have a bearing header. It's a bearing wall because the rafters are gonna sit on this wall. So I got some 2x12s to build the headers, but I ended up getting pressure treated because it was like $4 cheaper for the pressure treated than the yellow pine, just regular yellow pine. And if anybody knows that all the pressure treated lumber is yellow pine. So yeah, it's gonna be heavy. So I might leave the headers and the jacks out for the windows, stand the wall, and then stick frame in the jacks and the header. So we'll see, but let's get it built. Okay, so I plumbed down from the side of the window and marked the floor. So I'm gonna take my square and square off of our line for our wall over to those marks and mark it out here on our line, and then I can transfer it over here to our plates, and then I'll know exactly where our windows are gonna go on our wall. I also marked out where the closet wall is gonna go. It's a T for a wall lead. If you know framing, call them T's or wall leads. And then I made sure that the brakes on my plate have a stud on them. Same thing over here where my bottom plate has a brake. There'll be a stud, so you know the brake will be centered on the stud, so that way it can hold it together, since this is a bearing wall. And it will have a double top plate. I'll probably put the double top plate on after I stand the wall. So let me go ahead and mark these windows on these plates, and we can start nailing studs in. Okay, I'm having to cut an 1/8 inch off of these studs. They're 10 foot 1/8 inch, and I need to make sure they're all exactly the same, so I'm just taking them down to 10 foot exactly, trying to get the maximum height. You know, normally you would cut 4.5 off of them for your plates, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to get maximum height, so I'm gonna go with 10 foot. And the ends aren't very square at all on these. I don't know, it's some crappy lumber. But anyway, when you put your studs in, you want to make sure that the crown, if they're humped on one end, down the end, you want to make sure that you put those all the same way. Usually I put them all up. So you just look down the edge and see which way it's coved, and then you put that up. So make sure you do them all the same. So I'm going to go ahead and lay out all the studs in this wall like that and get it all laid out, and then we'll nail it together. Okay, I'm going to show you guys an easy way to make a wall lead or a T. Some people call them wall leads, some people call them T's. But what it allows for is it's a 2x4 with a 2x4 on each side like that, and that allows you to nail your wall going the other direction on there like that, and then on each side that'll give you the dead wood for your drywall. So an easy way to make one is I got 2 studs here. I already crowned them. Both crowns are facing up. I already cut them to the 10 foot, squared them up on the end. So I'll take one and move it out of the way, and then I'll put my blocks. It's a 10 foot stud, so I'm going to use 4. On an 8 foot, I'd probably only use 3. Space them out like that. Make sure that you got one on each end. It doesn't have to be flush with this stud yet, but they do need to be flush in the end. So then I'll take this and I'll lay it up here like that. And I'll make sure that it's flush. This one and this one are flush, and flush here. And then I'll nail it. 2 nails. Get this one, just doesn't matter side to side, but flush this way matters. 2 nails. This one same way, flush this way, 2 nails. And this one flush on the end and flush this way, 2 nails. So let me grab the nail gun and we'll nail these together. So make sure you guys can see me. Flush here on the end and flush here. 1 nail. Flush here. 1 nail. This one flush on the ends here. 1 nail. Flush, nail. Okay, so now we got those blocks nailed in. We're going to take this and flip it over so the blocks are sticking up. Okay, now if you got some scrap blocks that come in handy, you can stick some scrap blocks on here like this to hold this one up from falling over. And make sure that you got your crown still faced the same way. See, this one's going that way. I flipped this one the wrong way, so I need to make sure my crowns, I marked them with a little arrow which way was up. So now I'm gonna put this one on top. I'm gonna make sure it's flush here and here, and I'm gonna go ahead and nail it. And then I'm just gonna flush it to these blocks all the way down and nail it. I nailed it off from that side. I'll pop these blocks out of the way. I'll flip it over, make sure it's tight here. If it's a little loose, might have to give it a little persuasion. A little persuasion, make sure it's nice and tight. And now that is a wall lead or a T. So when your other wall's coming in, it'll nail right there in the center. This thing will be plumb, and you'll have dead wood on each side for your drywall. So I'll show you how that goes in the wall here in just a second, and we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to build the corner. Corner's a little different. So let me get set up and I'll show you how to build the corner and how these go in the wall. Okay, building the corner is pretty much like building the T. It's just slightly different. I got 2 studs here. I got a crown mark, little crow's foot. Let's see if you can see that. Little arrow. This is the crown up. So I got 2 studs already cut to the length, 10 foot. And I got me 4 blocks. 4 blocks. Easy to build. Corners are easier than the T's. So I'll just take these 4 blocks and I'll set them on there. Spread out equally. Take my nail gun. I'll get it flush on the end and on both sides. Put me 2 nails in there. This one flush on both sides. 2 nails. Flush on the end on this one and both sides. Okay, now I'll take this, set it out of the way, and I'll lift this one up on there. Crown's going this way, there's the mark. Crown on this one's going that way too. And I'll flush them up. On the corners, I like to flip them over and put 1 nail in each block. That kind of ties everything together because you nailed the blocks from the other side. So when you flip it over and get nails from both sides, it kind of locks it together. Same thing, make sure there's no gaps in it. If you have to tighten it up a little bit, go ahead and do so. And what this does now, this will sit on the end of the wall. Make sure you guys can see this. You'll have your bottom plate going this way, or your top plate. This will be flush at the end. So when your other wall comes in to make your corner, it'll sit like that, which will give you that board as your dead wood for your drywall in your corner. So that's why we build these corners, and it makes it nice and solid in the corner. You can nail the 2 walls together all the way down. So let me show you how these go in the wall. Okay, so here's our T. This is the top of our wall here. We're going to stand the wall up against the wall with the windows. So we want our blocks facing down in our T so that when it stands up this way, they'll be facing the other wall for the closet. So that just goes in there on the marks of where we want the other wall to be. And I got the marks there on the plate. And the corner goes over here on the end. And it doesn't matter which way as long as you have the face the same way as the studs. And it'll be flush with the plate like that, and when we stand it up, the other wall will come right in here in the corner. So that's how they go in the wall. This is what it all looks like laid out on the floor. I didn't put the headers or the jacks or the king studs in where the windows are. It's going to be too heavy for me to lift, so I'll put that in after I stand it up. So I'm ready to nail it together. Okay, we got it all nailed together. I'm fixing to stand it up. I'm gonna shoot it to the concrete with this Hilti gun and these pins. I don't know if anybody knows, but this shoots a 22 blank and it'll shoot these pins into solid concrete. So I'm gonna stand this up. I'm just gonna shoot a couple in it because it's really loud in this building. And then I'm gonna tap con it with some long tap cons, but I wanna shoot a couple in this to hold it since I'm gonna be trying to struggle and do this by myself. I also have some 2x4s leaned up on the edges that I can tack on with a nail to keep it from falling over while I'm working on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Fire in the hole. Okay, who was paying attention to the video? I put a stud right in front of the panel box. I should have left that stud out because the wall is going to come out right here for the closet, and this is going to be accessible inside the closet. So this stud's okay because it's going to help me wrap this beam or whatever I decide to do. But that middle one shouldn't have been there. So I'll have to take the saws on, cut the nails, and pop that one out. Not a big deal, but I was wondering who caught it in the video. Okay, I got it all Tapcon down, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the 6-foot level, plumb it up both ways, and get it attached to our blocking. And then I'll get it on both corners, and we'll pull a string and make sure it's nice and straight and get it all the way across the top. It's our blocking. If you see, that top rail has that lip, so our blocking is not very plumb this way. So I ended up just having to put a piece of 1/2-inch plywood in there to make up the space there and tie that. It's nice and strong, ready to go. So I'll go ahead and get the other end of the wall, and then we'll put a string on it and see about the middle, and we'll get it nice and straight. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's the next day. I didn't get near done what I wanted to get done yesterday. Farm chores called my name. It got late, so I had to stop. I did get both ends of this wall fastened, so we're going to put a string on it and we're going to fasten it in the middle, make sure it's nice and straight. That's the first thing we're going to do this morning. And then I'm not sure if we're going to go ahead and build this other wall over here, or if we're going to go ahead and put the headers and the jacks and king studs in this one. I think maybe we'll build this one and we'll do all the headers at the same time. So it's getting late already this morning. I had farm chores to do this morning, so it's time to get started. We got to get this done, so let's do it. Okay, let's get a string on the top of this wall and make it straight. I just got a block of wood here. I'm going to screw it on the end. I just put a screw in sticking out so I can put my string on it. Now I'm going to put a block on the other end just like that one, and we'll put the string between those two screws, and then I'll show you how we make it straight. So you take this block, you run it up to your string, and you'll see if it touches the string or goes right behind it. It should slide right behind it with the string just barely touching the block, because that's what it is on the end where we put the blocks and tied the string off. So we'll just slide this, we'll push the wall in and out to where it's barely touching the 2x4, and we'll get a shim here behind the wall, and we'll get some nails or screws in there, and it'll be fastened. We'll do that on every block that I put in, every upright, and we'll get this wall perfectly straight. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and get this wall all tied off and straight. Okay, now that we got the wall all secured on the top, can't move anywhere, we can go ahead and take these little braces down that I put up just to hold it while I fastened it. Go ahead and take those down. And then we can reuse this lumber. So I'll put it on the horses over here. Okay, so that wall over there is good. I think we're going to go ahead and build this wall before we put our headers and all our blocking in and everything. So I need to go ahead and get the blocking in at the top over here for this wall, like I did for that one across there. And I need to determine where the end of my wall is going to stop over here and get a mark so I can get my plates cut and know where to stop them over there. But the first thing is I'll go ahead and put these blocks in at the top like I did over there. It's going to be the same way. I'll cut them 2 screws, you know, pre-drilled, 2 screws at the top, 2 screws at the bottom, every 4 foot. So let me go ahead and put those in, and then we'll start building the wall. Okay, I got all those blocks in on this side. That last one there is where the wall is going to end. If you look at the floor down here, I got it marked out where it's going to end. That's 20 foot outside to outside on the wall. So inside the room will be, 7 inches less. But, and then I had to take this conduit and this apart because my wall is going to be right here. So I just took it apart for now because I didn't really want to cut that circuit. I'm kind of using that light, and I've got my compressor plugged into that outlet there. So I just needed to move it over a little bit. So I kind of just stretched it over there out of the way, and I'm going to redo all this, because I need power for the room anyway. So next step, I guess, is get some plates laid out, cut and laid out, and nail this wall together and stand it up. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, I got all the studs cut, laid in the wall. We're ready to nail it together. Looks like the rain came back outside, so it's going to be another wet day out there. I'm having to cover the material up and uncover it and then cover it back up as I'm bringing it in. So a little bit challenging, but we'll get through it. It looks like it's letting up a little bit now. It was raining a little harder earlier, just a minute ago. So we're gonna go ahead and nail this together. Same thing with this wall. I left the headers, the jacks, and the kings out because it's just gonna be too heavy for me to lift if those are in. Even though these are only 2x6 headers over here because this wall is not bearing. And then I went ahead and over here and I made a corner like I showed you yesterday. I made a corner for this end for this wall to butt into when we build this wall. So let's go ahead and nail it together and stand it up. And if anybody is wondering, I'm shooting this together with 3-inch smooth shank framing nails and a coil gun. And when you're shooting these, you want to make sure you have your safety glasses on because the little pieces of wire will fly. All right, let's shoot this thing together. Alright, got it all nailed together. I'm ready to stand it up. See if I can lift this thing by myself. No problem. Probably could have put the headers in this one. Make sure we're tight in that corner. Right on our line here on the end where we want to be. Get a little brace on it. Don't want it falling on Maverick. And now we got two walls up. So, okay, so I was able to dig out one of the 2x12s. It was a little challenging. And then the rain picked up out there, so yeah. Anyway, I got one out. I'll show you how to build these headers. Let's go over here to the wall. So I marked them on the plate. There's the jack and the king. Now, a lot of people will just put an X for the king because it's basically just a regular stud. They call it a king stud because it supports the jack. They go together. You make sure that they're nailed together. So that's why they call it that. But anyway, there's a jack and a king, and then sorry about that. And then the same thing on the other side. So your header is gonna sit on top of your jack and butt to your king stud. So when we cut our headers, they need to go all the way to here on both sides. So I'll get that measurement and then I'll show you how we build one. Okay, so I got the measurement. It's 51 and 5/16. So the first thing we want to do is crown this, make sure that it's not real bad, and if it is, you know, make sure that the crowns are going the same on each piece. So that's the crown. This is the crown up here. Then we're going to check the ends for square, and you can see that that's not square. It's close, but it's out. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this end and make sure it's square. Guess I don't need to take that much off. Save some lumber. Alright, let me cut that. Nice square edge to work with now. So 51 and 5/16. Block of wood. cut 2 at 51 5/16. Okay, now we got 2. We got the crowns going the same way. So this is gonna sit inside the wall, and the wall is 3.5 inches, a 2x4, 3.5 inches. But 2 of these is only 3 inches. So we're gonna go ahead and cut a piece of 1/2 inch plywood to put in between these 2 to make them 3.5. I have some OSB over here. Now when you cut your plywood, I always cut it a 1/2 inch less than what these are. Okay, and these aren't exactly 11.5, they're like 11 3/8. So I go like 10 7/8. Because you don't want the plywood to stick out. Get our chalk line out, pop the line. Find my mark. Brand new chalk line makes a mess. And then the same thing this way, I'll make it a 1/2 inch less. So 52 5/16 was our measurement. I'll make it 51 11/16. So you just kind of split the difference because we know it's a 1/2 inch short, so like a 1/4 all the way around, make sure it's not hanging over anywhere. And then I like to put a couple short screws just to hold the plywood in there. Let me grab the screw gun over here. Couple little drywall screws, 1 in each end, just to hold the plywood. Alright, now we're going to take the one that's on the bottom and put it on the top. Make sure you keep your crowns going the same way. Now, let me grab the nail gun over here. Now we're going to nail these 2 together. But we need to make sure that they stay nice and flush with each other on the ends and on the top and bottom. So sometimes you'll take a speed square and put it on the end to make sure, since that plywood's in the middle, it's kind of hard to tell if it's exactly flush with each other. That looks pretty good. So I'll go ahead and put 1 nail in it. Safety first. Put my glasses on. 1 nail. And I'll check it in the middle here. Pretty good. You know, sometimes there's a little bit of crown that's more in an area and it might not line up exact. but just get it as close as you can. Put one there, check the other end. And it's good. So I'll go ahead and nail it off. You know, three, about every 8 inches apart. And then I'll flip it over and nail it from the other side. So I'll go ahead and nail this together, and then I'll show you how we put it in the wall with the jacks and the king studs. Okay, so this is how you nail it. Pretty close to the edge, about 8 inches. Let me fix the gun so I can actually shoot. Alright. Glasses on, don't forget the glasses. Like that. Make sure they sunk. Now what I'll do is I'll flip it up on its side, make sure that there's no gaps, that it's nice and tight, sandwiched together. Flip it over, make sure the other side's pretty good. On the opposite side, I'll zigzag it to make sure it won't separate. They're all sunk in and it's nice and tight, and then we're ready to cut our jacks and put this thing together. So let me get a jack measurement. I'll cut my jacks and we'll talk about how we're going to put this in the wall. There's a couple different ways. That compressor's a little annoying. Okay, so there's a couple different ways that people put headers in. Some framers will put the header all the way up against the top plate, way up there, and they'll cut their jacks and make sure it's all tight to the top plate. Now, I've been doing this for a while, and I think that it's stronger that way as far as the wall, you know, like the wall coming apart, especially like when you're standing it up. But I like to put my headers at the top of my windows down here. And let me tell you why. Because if you want to hang curtains or any kind of valance over the top of your window, you're going to want something to screw it to. And the header being right above your window gives you plenty of area to screw curtains, valances, whatever, you know, you want to put above your window. So I like to drop my headers down here, and then we'll just frame in between the top plate and the top of the header. So I'm going to put my headers right at the top of the window. So my jacks will be cut to this height right here, and then the header will sit on top of those. So I'm gonna get that measurement, cut them, and then I'll show you how we put it all together and put it in. Okay, so this is how it would look. We just nailed it together and stood it up in the wall. This outside stud is our king stud. This inside one is our jack stud. And then this is how it sits on the header. The header sits on top of the jack and the king stud runs alongside, and you nail it in from the side. So, one of the disadvantages of not doing it before you stand the wall up is when you already put your stud in here, you can't get the nail gun in to nail your header. So I could have left this stud out too, but then I would have had to toe nail that in. So what I'm gonna do is, on this side I have some room, so I'm gonna go ahead and nail the jack and king stud in on this side. I'm gonna nail them together, you know, nail them together this way, and then I'm gonna nail them in the wall over there, and then I'm gonna nail the header and this one together and lift it all up at once, so that way I can make sure that I get nails into the side of my header here, because over there I should have room to get the nail gun in. So let's do it. Now I could nail the whole thing together and just try to stand it up, but that's a lot of weight to try to wrestle by yourself. And I'd rather just do it like I'm going to do it half. So, yeah, I'm just going to flush these up on the bottom here. Flush them up on the top and the bottom and get a nail in there. Check it here in the middle. Down together good. This lumber's really bad. See where the J is, and then down here on the ground, on the bottom plate, I'll get it on the marks. Get it flush. Then I'll just toenail it. Alright, when you nail it to your header, you want to make sure that it's tight to your jack down there. And flush here, which is a nice twisted stud. That's pretty good. Put about 6 nails in it. Woo. It's in there. Wow, it's pretty heavy. Some twisted lumber. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get it flush over here. Make sure it's sitting down on our jack right here. We can go ahead and nail this in. Make sure there's no gap right here on the side of your header against your king stud. Okay, so I cut a sill here, and I cut cripples that'll go underneath the sill to hold it up. Now, they'll be on these layout marks underneath because when you're drywall, you gotta have a spot for your drywall to break on if it ends up underneath the window here. But you know, we keep them on layout down there. I cut enough for layout. I cut one for each end to hold this up so we can put this in. Now when I measured for the sill, you don't measure right where it goes because these studs could be bowed in and out. You measure up at the header or down at the plate. And then if you have to push these in or out in the middle to make your board fit, then you know it's exact with what is at the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and nail these in and we can go from there. Okay, so that's what it looks like underneath the window, all filled in. We'll do the same thing at the top. Of course, there's no sill, so it'll just be cripples on layout in between the header and the top plate there. So now that we have this done, see how we have the issue with the wall moving in and out because we put the windows? We're gonna go ahead and put some blocks under here to hold that all together and to make that wall strong again. So I'm gonna work on that. Good morning, YouTube. Yeah, it's the next day. I didn't get nearly done what I wanted to get done yesterday. A family member stopped by and we started talking and stuff, and then when they left, it got dark in here. It was too dark to film, but I did work after they left. I went ahead and put the other header in. Oh, nail gun on the floor there. I went ahead and put the other header in after they left last night. And I did the sill on this other window. So I did work. I didn't put the cripples in the top because I wanted to show you guys how I do that. I mean, it's basically just like nailing the bottom in. And then I went ahead and I built the two 2x6 headers for over here. And they're built just like the 2x12, piece of 1/2-inch plywood in the middle. Some yellow pine 2x6s. I was short a piece, so I had a piece of pressure treated for this one. So I went ahead and built those two last night after they left. So let's go ahead and get started this morning. We'll put these cripples in above the windows, and then we'll put the jacks and the king studs and these headers in, and all the sills and cripples. And then I cut a couple blocks last night to see how we were gonna fasten this. And I think pretty much just like that, we're gonna put a block. I'll go ahead and nail it or screw it through the sill here and then through the plate and the stud here. And that should tie this wall in nice and tight. I'll probably put maybe 3 or 4 on the bottom and maybe 1 here on the side to a block on the back of the king stud here. I don't know about the sides. I think maybe the bottom will probably be plenty, but I'll see how it goes. But that's what we're gonna do today, and I guess let's get started. It's still gonna move in and out. I'm gonna get the 4-foot level and put it on here and adjust it to where I want, and then I'm gonna shoot it down here with a nail gun to tie it all in. And like I said, I'll do 3 or 4 across the bottom, and then we'll see about maybe some on the sides. So I need some nail gun. Level. So I can put the level right here. And it shows it needs to come in. Too much. Like right there. I'll put one in and check it again because it's kind of hard to hold it where it needs to be. I'll put 2 in. Shows it still needs to go out just a fuzz. That's probably good. Yep, perfect. Well, I'll put another in then, and then I'll shoot it this way too. Now this isn't going to move at all. It's solid. That end's still moving, but I'll go ahead and do it over there. But yeah, it's pretty solid. So like I said, I might do one on the side just for extra stiffness, but I think it's pretty good with maybe 3 or 4 on the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and put all these in, and then we'll go over and do the headers over there, the 2x6 headers. It's a little humid today. The rain's still sticking around. Sweating in this building. I have to turn that fan on. I don't like running it while I'm filming because it's so loud, but whew, it's warm. Anyway, we got the headers in. I'm gonna go ahead and fill in underneath like I did over there. Put the blocking in to stiffen up the wall and the cripples on the top, and we'll go from there. Okay everyone, as you can see, I got this wall finished up. We're not completely done with these two walls. We still have to put the double top plates on, and we got to put blocking in the middle to straighten out some of these studs because they're pretty crooked. Plus we need fire blocking because we're over 8 foot tall. So we'll do all that on another video. I think I'm going to end this one here. This will be part 1, and we'll continue on till this is done. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. I'll fill in between these videos with some of the other videos with stuff going on the farm and stuff like I usually do, and I'll try to put out some shorts. But I really appreciate everybody following along. Thank you to all the new subscribers. I think we shot up to like 63 now, so we're doing good. I looked at the record of the channel the other day, and I noticed that there's a lot of people watching the channel that aren't subscribed. So if you're watching the videos and you like the content, please subscribe. Please, it really helps. And throw us a like. We need some more likes. You guys are watching the videos and not liking them, but that's okay. I just enjoy you guys watching the videos, and I enjoy making the content for you. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.